You mentioned both Fuentes and Cantwell, and I think one of the biggest misnomers is that you do think that they're libertarians,
Oh, of
or
course
that you
not.
like them, or that you agree with them, and that's bullshit.
Yeah.
You've never said that, but I've heard that millions of times,
No, what I
and
said,
everyone's just waiting for you to say exactly that. But you've said it before.
so this is what happened with the Fuentes one was he was on and he was on the show, and I was actually kind of taken back at first because I didn't know what he identified as, and he said he identifies as a paleo conservative, and then we were supposed to debate. That was what the show was supposed to be. And then he was like, I'm a paleo conservative. And I was like, oh, really? A paleo conservative? Like, oh, dude, I fucking read everything Paul Gottfried ever wrote and Pat Buchanan ever wrote and like all these guys. And remember when they worked with Rothbard and these guys in the 90s and all this? And we just started talking about like right-wing history, which I'm really interested in. And then we debated a little bit. And at one point, I think I said at the beginning, I was like, those guys were always like fellow travelers of the libertarians because they wanted to smash the empire. They wanted to smash the managerial state. They wanted to smash the welfare state and all these things. And so at one point I go, well, let me see, how much are we fellow travelers? Like, and I just asked him a series of questions. I was like, abolish the warfare state. And he was like, absolutely. And I was like, abolish the Fed. And he was like, absolutely. And I was like, abolish, whatever, I think the CIA. And he was like, absolutely. And like a couple other things. And he was like, absolutely. And I went, well, that's pretty damn good. And that's like their big smoking gun that I said, yeah, that's pretty good. I don't know what to say. If he had listed off a bunch of authoritarian policies, I would have been like, that's not good, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll say the thing where they're like, well, you were praising a Holocaust denier. And I'm like, well, okay. I wouldn't call that praising him. I mean, if you want to hear me praise someone, I will praise Scott Horton. I will praise Ron Paul. I will praise Tom Woods. I wasn't praising him. I said those opinions were pretty good, but he also didn't deny the Holocaust to me. The Holocaust actually came up, and I brought up how my family were slaughtered, and how the Nazis were terrible, and they killed millions of Jews. And he never at any point said, I don't think that's true. And if he had, I would have debated him on it, but he didn't. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know where, and then they point like to this video where he's like joking around, making like a Holocaust denial joke, but it's not exactly as if he's coming out and saying, hey, I don't believe that the Holocaust happened. And he certainly didn't say that to me. And if he had, I would have argued with him about that, but he didn't. And truthfully speaking, when people ask me, they're like, well, what do you think about Nick Fuentes or this or that? And I go, I don't know. I think he's like my baby brother's age. And I think that he's a talented guy, and he's built up like a big following around him, and he's a very talented broadcaster. And I wish he was less authoritarian and more libertarian. We could use more talent on our side.